Well, if you're just joining us, hey, guess what? This is the actually premiere episode of the Primetime Podcast for PT Media Group DSM. And we're very, very, very fortunate to have Fernando. And I'm going to butcher your last name, so I'm going to say Viega?
A
Aviega.
Ave
Ave?
Iga.
Aveiga. Okay.
Aveiga, yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, I butchered it.
That's good. You're a really good butcher.
Yeah, no, I whited it all out. It makes it a lot easier to just be like, wow, he's really white.
Make
like,
sure you
yeah.
don't edit that.
He doesn't even try. I tried. I looked. But I actually know you, and I know you're obviously a man of a lot of different things. But I met you through Christina, and being able to see your guys' show for Paranderos.
Paranderos Latin Combo. PLC.
Yeah, PLC. And we've been to a handful of shows since, obviously. I met you guys or whatever, but I think you guys are my first introduction to local, any Latin type of music or anything like that. She's like, hey, we're going to go see this band I really like. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, no, yeah, mad props for her. She did a great job. So, yeah, it was really kind of a cool thing and getting to see you.
That's how she made the case. She threw the net with Fernando's Latin.
Yes. I think we were pretty far into it. She's like, well, I got to make sure he accepts Spanish culture at all before we go into that part of it. So, no, she was, it was awesome when she said, hey, let's go see a band I really enjoy. I'm like, okay, awesome. This is cool. And you guys were really good. So, I guess we'll start with that. How long have you exactly been a musician then?
Okay, actually, per se a musician, I think only a few years.
Okay.
I started playing music when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
But I've always thought that the label of a musician was out there, outrageous. Like, that's a lot to take if you call yourself a musician. You better know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so my parents started me with keyboards.
Okay.
And it was a childhood where, let's say it's the 24th of December and you stay up, mm-hmm. You don't go to bed early because our midnight is when we will receive the presents. Mm-hmm. And my brother and I were always somehow got musical presents. It kind of was expected that we learn how to play music. Mm-hmm. And while I would like to go play with my tonka, my dad would always look after me and say that my aunts, las tías, mm-hmm. were ready to dance some cumbia and I need to come down and stop playing with the kids because I had to entertain adults. So from an early age, I was basically persuaded to come and entertain some tías.
Nice. Hey, you know what? That's good money in that now.
You can get paid for that.
Oh, yeah. The tías everywhere are sitting there like, let's get all together and we'll go see a show.
Especially my first tracks, the first tunes, I remember La Negra Tomasa, mm-hmm. which has been done so many times. It's probably Arsenio Rodriguez, the Cuban song originally, but the group Caifanes, a mm-hmm. rock band from Mexico, made it famous in Ecuador. So I remember playing some cumbia at an early age. And then it wasn't until high school days that I actually persuaded the guitar to be flexible, because mm-hmm. you could be with buddies mm-hmm. and they will be like, hey, help me give a serenade, or they could be, let's run to the beach 7 hours away from the capital, Quito, and let's get lost and try to see if we make some friends at the beach while playing music. Or, the guitar became easier. And also, I went from my early high school years, my early middle school years, from being a Metallica hardcore fan to being more like a Cuban folklore music.
Okay.
On guitar. So it changed it changed a lot of things. And keyboards have always been there for me. Mm-hmm. And it's always where I go to when I don't understand stuff. Mm-hmm. but the guitar is definitely it's a machine that opens doors. It's just it's I think the people who the engineers who designed it for the Queen back in the in the in the Queen days. Those guys knew what they were doing, because no matter where you put the guitar, it wouldn't be rock and roll conquering the world if there wasn't a guitar. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you transitioned into guitar? Is a lot of that like, do you read notes, or is it just more of a feeling? Is there
Good question.
A little bit of
So
both?
I've like 3 times in my life I've read notes.
Okay.
Like periods of my life where you read notes because you are either in a class. So between the age of 9 and the age of 11, I remember going to an organ class where they had like a row of 8 organs and another row of eight organs and 16 kids in each organ, one in each organ, and doing organ lessons. So after you go there 3 months, I mean, you start reading music. But then as soon as you stop going to your organ lesson and you start playing guitar with your buddies, you stop reading until the next time. And I remember taking college courses in music to try to see if I would pick up or learn theory or keep learning stuff that I didn't know, right? And I remember relearning from scratch again how to read music. So it's been quite a bit. And then I stopped after college, and then when I met all the jazz players from Des Moines in around 2010, then I started reading a little bit again, not to fall behind. But then it's been like probably 4 years that I haven't read music. So it comes with learning periods, but to perform, you better don't read music.
Yeah.
I mean, I perform with musicians that read music, but it's not something that I applaud.
Well, and I can imagine that, especially with a lot of Latin music that I've noticed, I think reading music would feel flat, whereas it's a passionate style. So to have someone just to be like, ding, ding, like it wouldn't have the feeling of being able to flow with it.
You gotta make mistakes. You gotta make mistakes to bring flavor.
And that's the that's the thing. It's like old records. They're like, oh, it's got pits, and it's like, yeah, but that's the sound. That's the sound of the music. But if you're playing by notes, actually by reading, it's a CD. You lose the flavor.
Yeah, and I honestly have come to believe that I'm not interested if you play the right notes or not.
Yeah.
I'm more interested if you like the song and if you're rocking the song. It's a different concept, which, of course, I believe in musical teachings, and I believe in teaching kids how to read music even earlier than I learned the first time. But at the end of all of it, the most important thing to love, I think, is songs. More than music is songs, the composition of a song. And even if it's the guitar and vocal version, or if you have 17 brass band from Sinaloa, Mexico, playing banda, if the song is good, even if the Symphony of China, the Chinese symphony, that's the song. Let's say for example the song Caballo Viejo, which is by Simón Díaz. It's done by Gilberto Santa Rosa. It's done by all the other. In fact, I would say if you don't have it in your repertoire, you should not call yourself a Latin combo or anything related to Latin. I mean, but they play it in Russia. They play, I'm sure, in different languages. Is because it's a song that is just unbeatable. It's just a song. Caballo Viejo is the old horse. And the version that we play at Parranderos Latin Combo, because at some point we had to play it, because we were in San Luis one day playing a festival, Latino Heritage Festival in San Luis, and we had somebody in the crowd say Caballo Viejo, and I was panicking, but at that time we had 2 amazing horn players that went to the University of UNI, which is Chris Walk on trombone, who moved to Florida for like some sort of NASA job, like he's a high-tech engineer. and then to Tim Sanders, who is now an immigration attorney in Minneapolis, and
Huh.
went to school for law school in Minneapolis. And they both have musical degrees, right? It helps. It helps. Music helps you in other areas, you know. And they both had been listening with me, you know, on the road or at hotels or when we hang out after the gig. This specific version of Los Corraleros de Majagual, which is an old kind of foundational band from the Atlantic coast of Colombia, and we pulled it off. We played it, and ever since, even after they transitioned onto other things, professions that we could not even match because those guys, you know, get paid well for being so talented. Even now, I still keep playing that version, and it's still very successful. But if we played in a different version, it will be there's another version that most bands nowadays play, which is a cumbia version, and more tropical cumbia, more like it's kind of like a salsa, but it's really a cumbia. And that version, everybody would probably think that we would play that version, but we play the older version, more into merengue vallenato style, which is more like 6/8, which is more like instead of doing a waltz, dun, cha, cha, dun, chan, chan, in this case will be cha, 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 cha. And then at some point, it's you can say that it's a fast-paced song, and it sounds more like, in the end, it sounds more like Venezuelan music, I think.
Well, and you love what you know and everything like that. And the nice part is when you have a song that is so, universal that you can speed it up, you can slow it down. It even though it's an established song, it becomes partially yours.
Yeah.
It's
you pay tribute to it.
Exactly.
You pay tribute to the song and everybody else that has played it in all the different genres. And it's alive for a reason. It survived on its own. It's not that there is a complot or people putting a gun in your head. You play the song, right? Is you hear the crowd asking for the song, and it's not because they are capricious or stubborn. It's because it's really a pleasure to actually hear the song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, with Paranderos, you guys have been established together for how many years?
Okay, so officially since 2012, so that will be 8 years.
Okay.
But the band, one thing is the band, the other thing is Parranderos. Parranderos is a concept that we created to basically to create a trio between Eddie Colon, Ryan Mullen, and myself.
Okay.
And this happened because of Eddie Colon moving to town, because of his wife is originally from Iowa, and at that time Eddie
Bless
Colon,
her soul.
Bless her soul. Love those Iowans. They mean everything to me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm purebred.
Okay, good. So I can trust you now.
Yeah, no, that's not. That doesn't necessarily mean you can trust me.
Well,
I'm
at
from
this point,
Steve King's side of the state.
Oh no, that's fine. I'll trust any side of the state at this point. And she came with a job to be closer to parents, so the kids would be closer to the grandparents, and Eddie Colon retired early from the police force. He was a police officer in Florida, but also a practicing master genius musician, bass player, who actually has a degree of the University of New York in music, and who showed up to New York directly from San Juan, Puerto Rico, from Ponce, Puerto Rico, which is actually the spot where all the big singers come from. From Ponce, Puerto Rico, came at age 16 or 17 to Manhattan, to New York, because he knew he was going to study, but he showed up and started playing gigs with the big leagues. He's just like playing gigs. He's been playing gigs. He's been, he's something else. I don't know how to explain it. So he's retired. So for him, it's fine to move to Des Moines, Iowa, and he introduced himself via email while we had a band called Salsa Vibe. Salsa Vibe is a band founded by Ryan Mullen and Junkie Sillermuth. He's a master percussionist from Iowa, who currently plays vibraphone and professor and teacher of all kinds of percussion in Kansas City, who plays in our, in Parranderos every time we have the budget for it, and the band is the band, only that the brand changed when Eddie Colon came to town, because with Eddie Colon, I could pull the guitar out, and we could play a 3-hour show as a trio and play songs, versus having an orchestra, right? So we could go to restaurants,
do a lot of different. It broadened the scope of what you could do.
Yeah, so he can play underneath that bass, even if you cannot recognize it. He could be laying down different beds of music for the song, and and on the other hand, Ryan Mullen is a multi percussionist who could be playing a tambourine from Brazil, or he could be playing a tabla from
Red
India,
solo cup,
or play the congas, bongos, or shakers, and he will be changing instruments within the song and having different parts for the song, and I will learn from both of them how to do it. So it will be that's what made a difference. Then you add a clarinet, then you add a person that plays mandolin, Puerto Rican mandolin, which is called cuatro. Then you can add even a person playing other kinds of mandolins from around the world, or you can add a trumpet. You can add then you add the band, but then you start from the basic folk.
Yeah, and
that's what Parranderos Latin Combo really ended up being. Is we grow it based on
what
demand.
The necessity is. Yeah.
Always trying to involve the whole band if possible. But that's when it started. So when people say how long have you been playing together, we've been playing together for 10 years.
Nice.
But as Parranderos Latin Combo, just 8.
Yeah. So with that, how many performances do you guys do yearly? I know I've seen you guys a lot around Des Moines, and like you said, Kansas City. So like, how many do you guys usually?
Well, we've had different kinds of years, but I remember the trombone player, Chris Walk. One time I asked him, because musicians get worried about paying taxes. Come on, I mean, we already get paid little, and then out of what we make, they want 30%.
Of course.
So we were counting how many gigs. I remember, like in 2014, we probably had about 85 to 100 gigs on that year. And then sometimes you go up and down. People are like, where do you play? Oh, it could be anywhere, man. It could be inside the principal building for a department of the company. Or it could be at DMAC for a reception. Or it could be at Iowa State for a cultural event. Or it could be San Luis Festival. Or it could be the wedding in Dubuque, Iowa. It could be
anywhere.
It could be a ticketed show in Sioux City.
What's the farthest you guys have
casino,
traveled?
all of it. The farthest, I would say, is St. Louis.
Okay, so like nobody's like in Austin. You know how we try to bring in, and it's nice always to bring in outside bands.
Yeah.
But nobody's been like, hey, let's get these guys down here yet.
No.
Yet.
No, I mean,
after this podcast,
people. There's radio people there's radio people in Denver that want us, but the thing is, currently we have bandmates that live in Council Bluffs, Omaha, Kansas City. So to pull the band together nowadays, you need to be sure that you're pulling the band together.
Yeah, for a good amount of money, it has to be a number that.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, we're always kept it affordable, especially because we are playing a style of music that you would say that we will charge more because there is nobody else doing it, but we don't charge extra because we are on a mission to share this music. Honestly, it's been almost like what I'm gonna repeat it. It's been a mission.
Well, that's good. It's always good to hear.
Yeah.
So we know about the band, and I guess we're gonna just kind of go with the list that we have up on there. That would be for anybody watching.
PTI Media Group.
It's the middle one is Parranderos.
Yeah.
We'll go up. I know, obviously, you work with La Que Buena here in town.
Yeah.
I guess we had talked before the show. And so I'm like, I'm telling people the stuff they don't have any idea on. You guys only been around for not even 2 years?
We started June as La Que Buena,
Okay.
June of 2018.
Okay.
And La Que Buena is basically a brand, a well-known brand. It
Mhm.
started in Guadalajara, Jalisco, then spread around Mexico, then spread around the United States, starting with LA and also Chicago.
Okay.
Those are two big brands there, and there wasn't like a buena in Des Moines,
Mhm.
and I'm a radio listener. Every time I go to a big city, I try to find out within the first. If I have a rental, I'll find out, or I'm driving by through
Mhm.
with my vehicle. I'll probably it takes me probably about 15 minutes to figure out all the AM and FM Spanish stations, and I'll tell you right away which one I don't like and which one I like.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, it takes me the same amount of time to find the stations. I just don't listen to them.
Okay, got you.
So yeah, no, but I find them in the same amount of time though.
Okay, cool.
So I go through the dial because when I'm in a new city, I'm like,
Cool. Yeah, I actually have competitions going. Like when I go to Chicago, I log in all the ones locally, and then I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Okay, this is winning. And then at the end of my trip, then I figure out which is the radio station that is hotter at the time.
now for your, I guess favorites as far as Latin music goes. Do you, are you like, as an American music, it's like, oh, I hate pop music, but I like this, or whatever. Like, is there are stations more geared towards like, is there a cumbia station? Is there like in cities? Obviously, you can find anything on like online or streaming or stuff like that. But in cities, is there generally like they're all pop stations, or is there a big variety too in bigger cities?
In a city like Chicago, you have the tropical,
Okay.
tropical pop
Mm-hmm.
station. Then you have the romantic only station, which goes across genres.
Which, from what I understand, the romantic only station of all Latin music is just a guy who's your ex telling you how the new guy is not as good as he was.
There we go.
Okay, I want to make sure that's all like
That, that's a conservative approach to writing music, and it works 90% of the time.
I was like, yeah. Every time I listen to it, Christina would tell me, she'd be like, "Oh, this guy's just telling his ex that the new guy sucks." Like, oh, it's like, why? Well, it's just, I don't know. Just this is the way it is. So.
And then in the United States, then you have the other three stations in Chicago. You have the other three stations that are competing for the Mexican audience, and they're called regional Mexican radio stations. And I would say this: the regional Mexican radio stations that win are the ones that have diverse programming. Because if you really know Mexico, then you understand that from center to south of Mexico, Caribbean music is huge.
Is it?
But there is so much richness in norteño music, music from the north, that actually influences everything of the music of the south. It's kind of like they're right there together. It's so much catalog. There's so many songs coming from states from Zacatecas, Sinaloa, Michoacán. Then you have all the bands from Chihuahua, all the bands from Durango, which they have their own genre called Duranguense.
Okay.
So because you have so much music production, and this is well known even in South America, the Argentinians are the second to Mexicans for the volume of music production in the Americas.
Oh.
So it's great in the Spanish Americas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Mexico is the top music producer,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, of the hemisphere, honestly.
Okay.
But they are and the demographics, because of immigration and NAFTA and all of it, the demographics, that's where they point. So going forward to La Que Buena, either in LA or in Guadalajara or in Chicago, I noticed that there was one theme in common with those Que Buenas, is that they take serious to the task of entertaining people. And when I mean entertaining, is that you just don't put entertainment out. You got to think of really how you can help people relax, how you can help people be informed, how you can help people laugh, how you can help people forget a little bit about the news we just gave you by giving you the best programming, So And I thought that at the time when we started the radio station with Darwin Salas, uh, one thing that made me passionate when he extended the invitation was that I know that there is so much amazing local talent that that have been involved in the music part of it, but not in the radio part of it. Um, so only as a consumer, because I've always been a radio consumer, but now it's all about having open mic every day at every hour.
Yeah, that's got to be really interesting to try
Yeah.
to keep it filled and all that, especially for content these days. Now, I know a little bit about radio because I did it way back in the day on an AM station. So it
Oh,
was,
nice.
yeah, no, the
I
farm
mean-
reports.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
even better. So you
Yeah.
got all my respect now.
Yeah, no,
AM is where it's at. People don't even think about it, but AM is where it's at.
all the farmers.
And then second of all, you're doing the farm report. Come on, it's the most
Oh,
important
yeah.
indicator of the economy.
Yeah, no. December sales are up. You're like, oh, I gotta read this, and it's just the most boring. And if you mess up a line, you'll get calls. Or at least back in the day. Now people would text or send hate mail or Twitter feed or whatever it would be. But back in the day, yeah, you'd see the phones
Oh,
light
but
up.
even if they call you to protest or to tell you they dislike something, that's high rating right there.
yeah, that means they're listening.
It means that
They're
they
just not
are
happy about
inspired enough to call,
Yeah,
and that's a different kind of inspiration.
Well, you know how it is. Old white people are the first ones to complain about everything.
Well, but
I'm almost there.
as
Not
long
quite yet.
as you're well spoken, who cares,
Fair enough.
right?
All right. So with La Que Buena, what do you guys? I mean, obviously it's the Des Moines area because that's where we are.
Yeah.
But, like, do your shows, like your morning show, plays this type of music? Is it kind of up to the DJ?
Mhm.
Do you have like a I can only play, I have to play these 10 songs. I remember back in the day, it was like these 10 songs have to be played once every 4 hours
Mhm.
because of contracts to get the music on the radio.
Mhm.
And, when I was there, it was like Hootie and the Blowfish, and you're like, oh, you're going to play it all 25 times in 1 hour, thanks, stuff like that.
So we have a computer that is programmed for 24 hours with music
Mhm.
that is mixed every other song. So within the regional Mexican genre,
Mm-hmm.
we try not to repeat any genre, subgenre.
Mhm.
So you keep changing. If you play a norteña, which is more like southern country music
Mhm.
with sax and accordion, the next one is going to be a banda song. And the next one is going to be a classical romantic song, and the next one is going to be a cumbia song, and the next one is going to be a pop song. So it changes every time, but that music only is heard when there is not an actual radio anchor
Okay.
or a radio DJ putting on a show,
Mhm.
because then they are using their own computer or an auxiliary computer that we can provide as a radio station, mixing. Sometimes they mix in because they need to also work with the main computer, because the main computer is the one that has the commercials. So they have to, even if they play their own music,
Mhm.
the music that they have selected or purchased, then they have to be working with the channels, because at some points they at least twice
You have to
per
have a hard
hour.
out. You have to. There's just different times, and if you're not looking at your time,
And
on
then
your music,
and then each show has their own mentions,
Mhm.
because that's what keeps the show alive.
Mhm.
Is the sponsor. So you have to mention the sponsors at a certain time. So you work it in. The best shows are the ones that are well planned, and they have all the mentions and the commercials
Mhm.
balanced together with the music.
Do you guys, and I know different companies work different ways, but do you guys work with the companies that you're going to be giving shout outs to, or, selling ad space for? Do they come to you, here's the script we've written, or do you guys, is it just kind of like a, hey, if you're listening, go there, like, type of, like, oh, okay, that's...
Hey,
yeah.
so there is about 4 people doing active sales, 4 or
Mhm.
5 people doing active sales, and if they can get the client to write something, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. That means that we can get your production faster,
Mhm.
because once an editor looks at it,
Mhm.
the editor goes through really fast, and knows how to fill in,
Mhm.
fill out, cut in, cut
Timing. Here's your
out,
pause.
time.
Here's your,
Knows how to reduce it um, from bleeding going over 30 seconds or going over 60
Mhm.
seconds. And but when we have nothing, just a business card, it usually ends on my desk.
Then you have
And,
to
uh,
do research.
and then I have to hopefully Google is gonna help me out.
Hopefully.
If I can get a menu for a restaurant online, that helps a
Knocks
lot.
it out. You
Yeah.
just what their description is.
So it all depends. It all depends. The client definitely expects that you have creative stuff,
Mhm.
and that if they only give you a business card, that you pull it off.
Yeah.
But the ones that have ideas is the best, because that ideas written and deliver
Mhm.
is the best, because then we can get to work faster.
Yeah, you can actually get it out faster.
Yep.
So I guess the last part. So I'm just kind of still looking. People don't understand what I'm looking at, but whatever. There's a logo at the bottom, and from what I understand, that is a soccer.
It's a soccer team.
Team?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know if it was a soccer organization.
I would say it's a sports promotion company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a few soccer teams that we promote, and
Mhm.
also we have MMA fighters.
Okay.
We don't have any boxers yet, because I haven't met them. It's just that I meet people along the way,
Mhm.
and if I feel inspired to promote, then I'm like, man, it costs you nothing for me to promote you.
Fair enough.
I'll
yeah.
find you, and I find myself my own pay.
And then, what's the name of this company then?
This is called Hacha y Machete.
Okay.
Hacha y Machete, and the name of the team is FC Hacha y Machete, Football Club Hacha y Machete,
Okay.
and the name of the company is Hacha y Machete. And Hacha y Machete is an axe
Okay.
and a machete,
Mhm.
and it comes from my desire to. It comes from the dream that I've always had, that if I ever decided to fund a soccer team,
Mhm.
coming from a soccer upbringing, and soccer also being the other thing that opened the doors for me in the United States,
Mhm.
and also in Ecuador, anywhere, honestly. I've been to Europe, and it also opened doors to me there. So I would say that I wanted to have an anthem.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that the big teams have an anthem, but then I'm like, man, I want to be a songwriter,
Mhm.
and to be a songwriter, I have to write songs. So I've been trying to keep myself writing songs, even when we're not recording.
Mhm.
So, but then, how do you justify writing an anthem? I mean, you gotta. I mean, to me, that task of going from a song to an anthem was tough. But then I was thinking hard. I was thinking hard at a very difficult time. Like, difficult time. Everybody's living their most difficult time every time. But it was 2012
Mhm.
when I finally had an eureka. I think I had Pandora going on,
Okay.
and I was heavy, hard salsa from New York.
Mhm.
And then I remember, I probably was listening to the Willie Colon station,
Mhm.
and then this song by Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe came out, and the chorus is like fuerte, fuerte, hacha y machete. So that's the chorus part of it,
Mhm.
and then I went probably to YouTube, I
Yeah.
imagine, or to my iTunes or whatever, find the song again, and dissected it,
Mhm.
and I went line by line, and I went line by line many times, and then I would go to work, and then I come back and went line by line. I'm like, this is actually I wouldn't change any phrase in
Mhm.
this song. This is exactly what I want to tell every soccer player, or any player, or any person that wants to be a player.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if it's soccer or music. This is exactly what I'm feeling every time that I go into. Once the clock starts,
Mhm.
either the show starts, you gotta zoom in, and you gotta give your best, and the skills part of it, because we were talking about going to college, right?
Mhm.
The skills development part of it is what really makes me passionate, because Hacha and Machete say a lot of things about some of the things that do say is that you gotta have skills to harvest. I mean, you gotta have skills to for glory. I mean, you have to apply them with and then we have three. The team has three basic values, which are cariño, which is caring, respeto, which is respect, y humildad, which is humble. So those are the three words that describe, and that's the only thing. Those are the three words that make me that I put people that come to the team through in order to know if they're making the next team next season. Is that if they are caring, they have respect for people or the sport or the competition or the event, and then they're humble, then they're coming back. And I don't care. And I know this is all about skills because it's actually machete. But to me, it doesn't matter if you have no skills. My commitment to you is that if you have caring, respect, and humble, I will figure out how to get you from A to E or A to Z. And I'm not saying that I already got to Z, but I'm saying that I have moved at least to B in some areas.
Hey, you may not be a football forward,
Exactly.
but we need a water guy. Right? We need
and the other thing
an important position.
And the other thing
you don't got the skills.
The other thing I commit is that if I don't know how to get it done, and you want to get to Z, I will find the guy that is on Z, and I'll match you, and you'll get a chance to, you get a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to.
Nice.
You know, so that's kind of like the thing behind it. And the reason why create a soccer team, well, growing up in Ecuador, man, I'm pretty sure you understand it's a tiny country that makes it to the World Cup.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a big deal, you know. It's like you are extra proud when you're so tiny and you still make it to the World Cup when you're around Brazil and other countries, right?
Who have all the talent, like just everywhere. It's just they just go little towns and yeah.
Yeah, no. So it's the upbringing that I wanted to fund a soccer team and didn't know when. Just like radio, I thought I would go in radio when I would be 65, 70, retire, and that was part of my plan.
Okay.
But it just happened that sometimes opportunities come earlier. In this case, it was that I had been playing at an international soccer league of Des Moines, which is non-for-profit that runs soccer league, adult soccer league, 18 plus, 16 plus with your parents' permission if you're 16 or older. But that basically gathers about 42 teams, which is about 1,000 soccer players, organized, and you know all of our players. We bring our families on Sundays, and so it's a big 5,000 people community that I've been involved ever since I got my soccer scholarship to go to Nyack in Mason City. I would drive down to play in First Division every Sunday with a team called Parma, and so many amazing players that Gustavo Quito was able to recruit over the years, and then it came to a point that he didn't do the team anymore. I took over the team, especially when I started getting injuries and I couldn't.
You're not
and
as
also,
young as you used to be.
Not only that, but I also started traveling with the band, eating out, eating at 3 a.m. in the after hours restaurant, and you know, my diet went to.
It wasn't a workout.
I wasn't working out.
Sleep in.
I wasn't sleeping much, especially when I wanted to move from amateur to hopefully closer to a musician. It was a transition where I was not an athlete anymore, and I was more trying to use my leadership. But then came to a point when I realized that more and more teams were registering. There used to be 2 divisions, used to be 20 teams when I started. And then we're getting close to 42 teams. And then I started thinking, oh my God, if I don't put a team in right now, even though it caught me at a time where I was the most broke I've ever been, especially when I was trying to rehearse music. Nobody pays you to rehearse music. So when I was rehearsing a lot of hours per day, then that's when I was the most challenged in terms of my finances. That's when I decided to start the team.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, it's like talk about business decisions.
I think a lot of those decisions they ended up panning out when people were like,
how do you make it happen? How do you make it happen? People like, I'm like, if you knew how I was able to make it happen with nothing, anything helps now.
Yeah, you're like, I did this with nothing once. This cake.
It's something that keeps me challenged, keeps me in check.
Are you ever not busy?
You know what?
Is this the longest amount of time where you weren't actually working that you've ever had?
You know
maybe.
what?
Do you sleep? Do you?
You know, I sleep. I think this is what it is. The reason why I think I sleep well is because when I go to sleep, it's like, oh my God, I think I did a lot today.
You're exhausted. You're not falling asleep. You're passing out.
I did a lot today, and I don't regret any minute of it.
That's good, though. It is nice to keep yourself busy. My father is going to be retiring next year, and he's worked 37 years at the same job, factory job, whatever. But he's like, I'm going to retire next year. I was like, you're going to be so bored. Like, you don't realize how being busy changes a lot of things. Because everybody's like, oh, I'll watch Netflix. It's like, yeah, you'll get real sick of that real quick. Like, if you've worked your whole life, you're going to immediately be like, nah, I can't do this anymore. And I think that's the same way I'm starting to be. I remember doing nothing, but then I have somebody who schedules tasks for me at all times, and I love her. but yeah, so I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like now I go, oh my God, we have this extra time. Unless if it's sleeping in or whatever, it's like, oh, should we be doing something? It feels almost like you're on edge. You're like, I think I should be doing something. So I imagine for you, if you're not,
let me tell you, the times where I being caught on a vacation, because that's what it is. You get caught. It means that you are probably at a place where cellular phones are not working or the internet is not really good. I take it well. I welcome it.
Because you can't, you're like, if I can't do it.
But check this out. That's how I taught myself basic accordion, is that in my last trip to Ecuador to visit my mom and my brother and family, my mom rented a spot at a place similar to what I'm telling you. You wake up and they had a tortilla de huevo, but it was shrimp egg omelette with like the most amazing flavor in your world. And that was like for breakfast. That was downstairs. Upstairs is where people will rent to sleep. And downstairs it was like an open restaurant for the village. Okay. For the fisherman village, but they had hostage business upstairs. So my mom kind of got the whole second floor going for, I would say probably for me, but they invited a bunch of family. And man, good thing I brought my accordion, because that was perfect time for me to practice, and to practice with an audience that probably won't judge me.
Or they will, but they won't say it.
Or they will tell me in my face, which is what I want.
They're not going to Yelp you or put it online.
If I'm not reaching the note, and I think I am, they probably will tell me. So even when you are on the most relaxing trip, I would recommend find something that you really love doing and do it well, or something that you would love to get accomplished and take that time as an opportunity.
As a relaxation.
Yeah, as part of your relaxation, especially if you don't have a timeline. And especially if you cannot be boring your family for the whole stay. So it's...
I could understand that.
Okay.
So, I guess.
I would say that's exactly what you do when you do these kind of interviews.
My podcasting.
Yeah, I mean, podcasting
shows.
Podcast is a hustle, man.
It would be if we were making money on it. Like at this point, it's just an ongoing hustle.
This is 1,000 times more hustle. It's just like soccer in Des Moines, Iowa, right? Maybe if we were in LA, maybe there will be some reward already for soccer, but I would say the city of Des Moines is moving towards soccer, is moving towards more music, and I think Des Moines specifically has always been musical. I'm not a musical historian from Des Moines, but I can tell you that just by being so privileged to know more than 100. I don't want to say a number, but for sure more than 100 local musicians.
Can you name them? No, I'm just kidding. I'll start with A. Like, whoa.
Okay.
No, don't.
I can name some, but
No.
but what I would say is that I would say per capita, Des Moines has to at some point be recognized for one of the cities that has breeded more musicians per capita, probably compared to many areas in the United States. I mean, of course, you throw a stick in New York City, of course you're gonna hit a good musician, but that's New York City. Come on, you're not only exposed to domestic immigration, you're exposed to international immigration. We're Des Moines, Iowa, and I think the Iowa-bred musician is more qualified than the average anywhere in the country or in the world per se. I was yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was looking at recent footage of recent tours of Slipknot, and I'm listening to one of their songs, "Spit It Out," which is the name of the song.
I know as much about Slipknot as I know about Latin music.
A lot.
I just nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm so far on the other end
Well,
of it. Like I know a little bit here and there, but Slipknot is definitely not my jam.
Well, I had to go to Wikipedia, so they wrote this song in 1998. Think about it, man. They've been doing it for a while, and they pack stadiums in Brazil, in Japan, everywhere. And these guys were raised, and all their creativity is Des Moines inspired. So I'm just saying, I just gotta give it for Des Moines for music, and I gotta give it for Des Moines for soccer, especially with the new movement coming, push from the come and go operation, bringing in putting the eyes in Des Moines for soccer. So I would say that your podcast is going in the same direction.
If Come and Go wants to give me money, if you're listening, Come and Go.
I think your podcast is moving the same direction as soccer and music.
It will be the next thing. It'll be soccer, then us. How long did it take to get soccer in Des Moines? I'll be retired before this becomes a thing.
It's been a hassle for all the teams.
Yeah, and we were actually pretty fortunate to get have all this set up. With my technical knowledge, I knew how to do all this stuff.
Awesome.
Video game system, and that's where it actually started, because I was like, well, there's a thing called Twitch. I was like, let's do this, and we just kind of ran with it. She actually was the one who turned it into more of a legitimate everything. Like, she had all the good ideas. And
one more time,
I just know how to set stuff up. I'm computer literate.
Where I started, that's how I end. Is thank you, Christina.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. Yeah, that's how I start all of my mornings before I go to bed. That's
intro and outro, the most important part.
Yeah, that's just the last thing you see,
the
first thing you see every single day. So yeah, let's. I know how to bookend a day. But so one thing you had said before, and I've had other friends and noticed even when we went to see like Rodrigo y Gabriela. With that, I've noticed there's a lot of inspiration from you. It said Metallica. I have a lot of friends in the Latin community that come from South America, in Central America. That Metallica, like I'm like. Is that a bit like I wouldn't necessarily expect that music to translate necessarily well, because it's such a different type of passion, unless if they just look at the passion of it and that's what they follow. Because I just go, like all Latin music to me has like a certain soul, and Metallica, although the passion's there, it a lot of people are like devil, so like it just feels a lot different. So I just don't know if is it big, or did you happen to just?
No, it's huge.
Is it?
It's huge. I mean, we're talking about in a place like Bogota, especially in the 90s, they probably could fill up a soccer stadium 2 times in a weekend with Metallica, and probably more times in Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's where the amount of hugeness these bands have, and I'm gonna tell you, and they have influence in my guitar playing,
Mm-hmm.
because what I think really is behind all that very skillful guitar playing of the hard rock
Mm-hmm.
metal uh, is that I think they are playing classical music
Mm-hmm.
very well, using the electrical guitar and all the effects.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bands that make it are the bands that have good songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ones that don't make sense, like for instance, you would think that amazing guitar playing comes from the guy from Soda Stereo,
Mm-hmm.
Gustavo Cerati, rest in peace. So the reason why I don't care when I don't understand the lyrics
Mm-hmm.
is because even when I don't even understand where the lyrics are going for, the song is just so good. And we're talking about his writing in the Spanish language. I should actually imagine, and I'm sure everybody has their own opinion of what the song really means. In some songs
Mm-hmm.
that are popular and that people really don't know what they're about, specifically, um, I think that happens in songwriting, like in Metallica, in certain Guns N' Roses songs.
Mm-hmm.
Bon Jovi has some of those,
Mm-hmm.
and these are, these are.
I'll tell you right now, if there's any actual metalheads listening, and you just mentioned Bon Jovi as like kind of in that genre, you're like, people are like, no.
Yeah, I know,
So-
I know. He's trying to pull. I know he's trying to pull the country in. He's trying to pull the southern in, and has a different sound. But I mean,
They were more pop rock,
Yeah,
than,
pop rock.
and not in a mean way. Obviously, there was lots of fans of them and stuff like that, but no one. I mean, early Metallica versus any Bon Jovi, you're gonna go, well, this is not the same.
Well-
but it was just the Metallica thing threw me off more than anything, because it's just the way the style felt. Didn't feel like there's just not as much. The passion feels different. Like, yeah, I didn't know if that like.
so
Yeah.
like a long Metallica song
Mhm.
could be compared to a long Silver Rodriguez
Mhm.
song of a Cuban folk guy, because they have all these sections, and these sections have different way to inspire the audience. And I'm thinking about the song One,
Mhm.
or Nothing Else Matters.
Mhm.
Songs that that is got a classical. You can have a symphony play into it, and it will be amazing.
Mhm.
So it's that kind of musicianship, that you look for.
It's just they're playing it at a different way, but it's still
Then
it feels.
then you can hear like sometimes you hear songs like crossover.
Mhm.
Sometimes are like that Panamericano, like the original. Where does that song come from? I mean, that's a big question mark for
Mhm.
me, because no matter where you listen to that song, even if you're talking Romanian to me, or Russian,
Mhm.
or Hungarian, or some language that I don't understand,
Mhm.
whoever is jamming Panamericano, do, I'm like, that's perfect. I want that in my party. I don't care if I'm in Brazil or in the United States.
Fair
You know what I
enough.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like whoever can write songs that can go across language, that you don't need to speak the language to actually feel it,
Mhm.
then I think you've done your job. Nirvana is one of those.
Yeah, because the lyrics sometimes I would listen to it and be like, I don't know what they're saying.
Exactly.
But you would listen to it and be like, all right, like you're into it, but you're not. Yeah, the lyricist isn't as important.
Well, another
as-
one like that is Jim Morrison. It's like
he was weird. Like his
but
lyrics.
you
were
have a
always-
melodic crew,
Mhm.
and you're willing to put out some poetry, even if you don't finish the poetry in the song. That doesn't matter, because if it's genuine
Mhm.
and you put it together genuinely,
Mhm.
and you get people to listen to it, it's gonna catch on.
Definitely.
We cross topics a lot.
Oh yeah. So, I know Christina. If people that watch her, she'll do like a favorite fives. Things in the Des Moines area, and I'm gonna steal the bit. So, I guess not necessarily in the Des Moines area, but you've been in Iowa for a while now. You know, and keep traveling farther south. You know, you went from Ames to now you're in Des Moines. So the next stop is, I don't know, Osceola, I guess. If you're just gonna keep going south, this is slowly just.
Actually, believe it or not, it's Osceola. Believe it or not, trust me, it's Osceola. That's what I was talking about today. Actually, I'm going there Monday. Hopefully.
Oh, fair enough. So, what are the things about, I guess, this area or whatever that you really enjoy? It doesn't have to be five, but what are some of your favorite things around the area
that I enjoy?
Yeah, like you know, is there a certain place like I can always eat this? I can always grab, you know, like I don't know why, but a Big Mac sounds good every day. If you like McDonald's, that's great. I can't imagine it's culinary excellence, but whatever. But yeah, or this place, if I'm going to have a drink, or if I want to relax and I know my friends are going to be there, this is kind of my, you know, staple. Is there a couple places like that, or things that you enjoy doing no matter what? You're like, I'm always going to do this.
Let's start with a little bit of food. You know, I think I know a few things in the menu that I like for different restaurants, and which restaurants we frequent. Man, we try to change it. I have to say, let me say that there is like 5 food trucks that I will go to anytime, to like get happy if I'm sad, or if I need just like inject myself happiness. I'll get tacos de tripa at certain places. I will drive to Marshalltown to eat tacos de tripa at Taqueria Tarasco. Drive to eat it. If I have to make phone calls and I know I have to make 2 hours worth of phone calls, I'll probably do it, because I'll go there, make those phone calls, and then eat some tacos de tripa, maybe take a phone call, and then call people back while I'm super happy. Like, there's no way I'm not gonna do my calls. But I like this spot on Fluor called Skips. It was introduced to me by Joe Henry, where he hosts some of his high-level political meetings, or where he has in the past told me that's worked fine for him. But that's where I think my family when there's good news. I haven't gone there for business yet, but I really think that will be a good business, or a good place to seal deals if it comes to it. The reason why I like it is because I don't know if it's Irish or if it's Italian. I don't know what really.
It's culturally ambiguous. You just like
I don't know where it comes from. It has pastas, but it probably has things in the menu that you could say has some Irish. But I'm gonna have to say this: no matter what they do, they take pride in it, and no matter what kind of meat you order, you can tell it's good quality. And then they've been open for a while, probably 30 years, who knows. The thing is, they make a drink, they make it good, and people are genuinely happy that you are there. And I'm more into that. I'm more into quality more than genres.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But since I had to mention a restaurant, but then you have, man.
You don't have, I mean, I know there's a lot of events that Des Moines has. It's grown a lot in the last however many years. You know, is there
events?
Like, you have to do this every year? This is.
I want to tell you one thing that I really love and that I really like is eating lunch at the Iowa State Fair, then coming back for dinner.
And getting a stamp, telling everybody what said stamp is. Blue today, okay, like, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
And then head back to get
It's like making my stop, making my stopping grounds.
What's your food of choice at the State Fair?
The pork chop on the stick is one that I have to have daily.
Fair enough.
If I can make it daily, because we are busy and it's not cheap. I don't want to say the word cheap, but you gotta show up with some cash.
Yeah,
so,
you can't. You have to pay to get in. You got to pay to look at things. Yeah, it's you're gonna have to bring a pretty big wallet.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it, honestly. I mean, then then I go down. Then I go down after because I usually start on 33rd Street
Mm-hmm.
instead of starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
Then I start coming down a little bit and I go to that croissant place. Oh my god, that's good. That's another place where I stop.
Mm-hmm.
But then I tried almost everything, at
Mhm.
least a little bit of, at least throughout the week or throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I was able to go three times. This year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably one of the years I've gone the most. But I keep telling my wife Monica that one of my goals
Mm-hmm.
in life is someday to be able to go every day.
To be one of those, they rent out the what is it, the tents or whatever. You can get spots for your RV or whatever. And, like you pay for the week, you get day. I had a friend that his grandparents every year, that was their vacation. They would spend the 2 weeks at the fair. They would bring their RV up, set it up, and they were always set up next to the same people because if you rent it 1 year, you get the option to get it every year. So I'd be like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, every year. Just that's what they do. They come down and the whole week, and you get free entrance because you're renting the spot and stuff. So they would just every single day, in and out of the fair. I'm like, how rich are you people?
Now that we're talking about the fair, another thing that I love about Iowa
Mhm.
is that we do have Mexican rodeos, and man, talk about a family
And
event.
they're not just like one of them. There's a handful of them across the state. So you don't
Exactly.
yeah.
And then right across on the Missouri side,
Mm-hmm.
there is horse racing, and that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about big gatherings of families,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking about amazing food from the vendors, great sound systems, great bands that sometimes come from Mexico.
It's a show,
Yeah, bands.
even
that
though
come
it's
them.
not a show. You're
Then
like, yeah.
then you have these, as you can see on TV. Then you have these guys that take it seriously. It's a religious thing
Mhm.
to get ready mentally, emotionally, physically to get on that bull.
Oh hell no! I
And,
watch those and I'm like,
and-
no, you're good.
And you're tying, you try to stay on as long as you can. And let me tell you,
Yeah, you think soccer hurts your knees? Like every one of those guys, oh, I got punctured in the side. You're like, you what? Like, you don't have to do that. like, that bull was fine on its own. You didn't have to jump on its back and tick it off.
well, you know what I like too? I like the Iowa Cups.
Mm-hmm.
The Iowa Cups right there in the middle.
Fairly
the river.
inexpensive. If you're
Fairly
with your
inexpensive,
family,
yeah.
you can get out of there other than the concessions, but that's why you just generally eat before you go.
It's a good party, and then if after that, if you want to keep going, then you help local businesses by staying around and
Mhm. And there, that part of Des Moines starting to really grow a little bit more. I know Court Avenue for a long time was pretty desolate in Des Moines, and now there's a resurgence, and that whole walkway up second, but that whole walkway up there is just, you're like, okay, then there's this business now, and now this is showing up, so I could see where leaving the game would be fun.
yeah, and then also it's a big break for me because I'm like an spectator in a different sport
Mm-hmm.
that I'm on the on soccer. I'm the production side, but here I'm completely the consumer side,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually enjoy it. I want to enjoy every minute of it. It's like it's really nice. You relax.
Yeah. Well, and I think for a lot of people now, it's such a big transition. Like back in the day, baseball games made sense because you're just like, oh, it's relaxing. Now there's just so many people like, I need more excitement. It's just the way everything's transitioned. Everything has to be now and exciting. Baseball's never going to be that. So when you're taking your family to a baseball game, or you're going to a baseball game, you're going there like relax. That's what it is. Like anymore. Before it was like, oh, this is a fun time out. We're having excitement. Now people are like, this is nothing. Like it's boring unless it's not one of your favorites. I enjoy it a lot, but I could see where a lot of people are like, baseball's boring. To you,
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, once you say that something is boring, it means that you haven't done your homework. It's just like saying chess is boring. I'm like, it's boring if you're not in, if you don't put your mind, heart, and soul in it. But if you get in it, even if it's for a few months,
it's the worst because
you get hooked and you try to get better, and after you become a nerd. Which is a good thing for me. Actually, being a nerd is a privilege. But now that you're saying Iowa instead of just Des Moines, I would say having a trip to Storm Lake or having a trip to Marshalltown, even Waterloo, specifically for eating food, it's outstanding. It's just outstanding. I would bet my money on the smaller town Iowa Mexican food. It's just
well, if you can make it work in a small town that generally is not necessarily for you, just because I know where we are.
Yeah.
If you can make it there, that means that the food is, it's one of two ways. It's either really good, or it is white people good, which means it has no flavor. You got two choices.
Yeah. No, you'll be surprised. Even on native, I would say European spots, where I've been taken by people that know, like immigrants that know where to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you get amazing burgers. You get amazing. Even the hot dogs are good in small towns. So, in general, I would say small town Iowa recommended for foodies. Foodies, and if an establishment is there, it's for a reason. But what else? Iowa. It's like I because of the band, I've been in Iowa City quite often, and then I've come back to try to join the party, and it's it seems like I got too used to Ames, but I don't float like a champ in Iowa City. I think like I swim like a fish in the water in Ames. So in general, a good visit to Ames, I take it. Yeah, no, why not? and then going to downtown, I like the bar crawl. Hopefully not to spend more than a drink at a place, or instead having an appetizer in between. With friends. You're talking about entertainment, right? And then and the same I believe about Days Village. I can do Days Village anytime. I know the spots that have a jukebox where I can take over for a little bit, because as soon as you take over, people get jealous and then they pay more money. But if you can at least,
your songs aren't gonna last very long sometimes.
But at least I can get two in. Sometimes I'll play a reggaeton just to let people know that I'm not prejudiced. But it will be probably Despacito or something. I don't know. I'm the guy that would play Living La Vida Loca, La Macarena, Despacito, Suavemente. I would play the tokenized music just because to make it there, to be the token, you had to be a good song. I mean, you had to.
Yeah.
La Bamba, come on. I'll play La Bamba live anytime. Just because I believe it's going to be successful.
Unfortunately, and I know he wrote other songs. Nobody knows what they are. Like that's a guy that was very fortunate to have one that was a hit, and then he probably had a bunch of other ones. And people are like, well, can you name another Richie Valens song? They're like,
exactly.
Well, there was the La Bamba. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, Ricky Martin has a lot of good songs, and a lot of songs that have lasted over the years. But Living La Vida Loca, come on.
Oh,
that's the first crossover. Like
led the way.
That's led the way, even for Santana, I would say. In a way, because right after that is when he joined with
And
Maná.
Rob Thomas, and they did
Rod Thomas, exactly. So
that song was, you couldn't get away from that.
Smooth, man.
Oh.
I played that song with the band too.
Yeah.
We've had people come and ask if we can play Smooth, and I used to be in a band before meeting the Des Moines musicians,
Mm-hmm.
a band out of Ames, Iowa called Remendados,
Mm-hmm.
or actually it was called Los Remendados. But then I tried to stop that, and I started just calling it Remendados
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to be called like Los Beatles or Los Rodriguez or Los Lobos, you know. Maybe Remendados. And we're Remendados because remendado is when you have like a hole on your clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and you had somebody sew it up. That means somebody has done a remendado. So we
Oh,
were
okay.
sewing up stuff. We were trying to market ourselves as being the guys that play cool songs, but don't mess with us. We are going to school.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing our best we can,
Mhm.
and people liked it. People like that we came from a humble place. I think Kenji DJ San,
Okay.
he and actually Warren Morrow
Mm-hmm.
and Abner actually hired that band Remendados back in 2000. I'll tell you right now, either 2007 or 2008, to come play at downtown, where at a place that now is probably called, it's probably where right below where Voodoo is,
Okay.
but back then it used to be called The Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and they had me on a Thursday night, I think, or a Tuesday night. I don't remember, but I brought the band down, and I got paid. So these guys are serious business owners.
They paid us money for this.
They paid us money to come down and play. So no, and we play festivals. That band grew.
Yeah.
That band, we started as a garage band in college, and
Mhm.
and we had one very amazing singer from Puerto Rico, Victor, and then we had a very Pedro, very amazing hard metal,
Mhm.
electrical guitar, prodigy in electrical guitar from Puerto Rico. Then we had Craig Lane in percussion, and then we have um, Juanito
Mhm.
on drum set from Cali, Colombia, and he knew what he was doing in drum set. And we all love Maná.
Mhm.
We all love Soda Stereo and Anitos Verdes. So we play the classics. We kept it simple.
Well, and even when you're starting out, a lot of times I've noticed that a lot of bands they just be like, okay, we know that this song, regardless of who's doing it, yet again you're putting your flavor.
And then
or
you
whatever.
work in a little bit of Carlos Vives, then you work in a little bit of Juanes.
and then you throw one of your own in just to kind of be like, oh, is that? Who's that? And they're like, that's us. They're like, ooh.
And then Smooth came out, and then I had to learn it, because if I didn't learn it, then you wouldn't get paid. You gotta play that
you
song.
gotta play only that song, yeah.
I think I still know it, because last time that Parranderos got asked for it,
Mm-hmm.
we played it, and it's really similar to Oye Cómo Va,
Okay.
a little bit, not exactly, but it's got some core similarities, and then it's also similar to La Vida es un Carnaval, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it's been easy to please people when they ask for Smooth, but it's definitely not in the set list.
Yeah, if somebody's asking, or whatever, I could see that. So, well, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll do the wrap up part where we'll go. You get to rep anything you want, all you want. Just go to town. Where can we find you? What's the next show? How do people get a hold of you for any one of the three? What's your social media? Name it all. Go through the list. I don't know if you have a list. Bring out your phone. Whatever you got to look at. Because I know, like, oh, let me see. I got to rep this, and I got to thank this 5 people or.
Okay, so let's start in order. So for wrapping up the music,
Mm-hmm.
as a band, we received for the second time a scholarship from the Iowa Arts Council, and the proposal behind it is that we will lay down original material before June of next year. So we have material,
Mhm.
and we have a ton of original material. It's producing it, getting it to the point where we are happy to go to studio.
Would you do a studio here in Des Moines?
Great question, and that's some of the things we need to figure out before Christmas.
Mhm.
But my proposal is to do it here in Des Moines or somewhere close to Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
There's a studio in Council Bluffs with an amazing maestro who can not only do the production part but also help us musically. But there is Des Moines has like three great options
Mm-hmm.
for us to do, and instead of bringing the amazing engineers from San Juan, Puerto Rico, uh, instead of taking 14 musicians like last time, 14 musicians from Des Moines to San Juan to meet with these geniuses, maybe we bring them here
Mm-hmm.
and take advantage of their stay to teach others around here how to win Grammys
Mm-hmm.
because that's what they do. They win Grammys, and that would be a good exchange instead of coming back. And then um, our association with Colombian music is strong
Mm-hmm.
to the point that we've had 2 years in a row that our summer crew have been professional musicians from Medellin who believe in the music we play, who believe in the music we compose, and who have compositions that want to be shared with us, and they want us to be part of their composition. So it's a mutual loving relationship between Des Moines and Medellin. So we have a triangle of love. It's called Des Moines, San Juan, and Medellin. It's not the triangle of Las Bermudas. It's probably the Parranderos triangle.
There you go. That's actually where everybody gets lost in the music.
And then if you look at our set list,
Mhm.
let's say we have our A team put together.
Mhm.
We're ready to go to Omaha. If you actually dissect our set list, we mix it and we mix the tempos and we mix the genres within the genre.
Mhm.
But we are heavy Puerto Rican Colombian. We're Colombo Puerto Rican music in Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, rooted from music from Cuba and songs from all over the world. We take a song from a rock band in Spain and we make it a Cuban guaguancó, etc. But at the end of all of it, the rock that we try to play in Latin music with Latin instrumentation, it usually comes from our love to Puerto Rican and Colombian music.
Cool.
So that's my wrap up on that.
La Que Buena.
La Que Buena, La Que Buena, we are currently at 106.9 FM
Okay.
locally, 1490 AM.
Mm-hmm.
And I say locally because whoever bigger station that wants to be associated with us could try to make an offer.
Fair enough. Actually, yeah. Put it
I
out
mean,
there.
we're always in the market in the, but I can say that we have amazing local talent that only keeps growing, and that Darwin Salas and myself are committed to support as long as we have health, because as you can tell, it's not really the money, it's really your health,
passion.
your passion, and your mindset. And then I would say with the radio station is laqbuena.com. You don't have to, if you don't have a radio at home or if you're not in the Iowa area, you just go to the website www.laqbuena.com. Simple. And then
They have live streaming then?
live streaming. You just gotta
Nice.
press play and you listen to what's going on. Talent from the heartland of Iowa and the United States, and then to go to H Machete.
Yep.
It's been ever since we created the brand. It's been an amazing ride every Saturday and Sunday, sometimes just Sundays. Right now, because we have futsal indoor tournaments going, then on Saturdays the older dudes, the 35 plus, we play. The experimentados, we call them, los experimentados. And then the adults are playing on Sundays, and we're winning trophies. It's nice to win trophies. It's nice to have amazing players in your team, but honestly, it's really about getting together in the community, staying with the community, we are not in soccer to make money really. We hopefully try to get help from sponsors to mediate some of the expenses, but in the end is promote sports, promote sportsmanship, and healthy competition.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fernando. It was very nice to have you on the show. If you're watching, as Fernando said, you can always check out La Que Buena, Baranderos, Latin Trio, of course. Combo! Guys, messed it up. Whatever. So, Latin Combo, and H Machete.
H Machete, which I also have to do a shout out to Gilbert Gonzalez, who has a big MMA fight at Hy-Vee Hall. This is going to be amazing. Hy-Vee Hall is going to be on Saturday, December 21st.
Okay.
And we're currently promoting that event.
And where can we get tickets to that?
You can get tickets to that just calling me at 515-782-5174, 782-5174 with the area code 515.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for coming. Check us out, social media. It'll be PT Media Group DSM on Facebook. We'll be posting this video. When you see this, it should be sometime in December, I'm going to guess. It feels like it's there already. So
Yes,
thank you for
exactly.
watching, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you, PT Media Group DSM. Love you guys.